The tragedy of a daughter-in-law and mother-in-law crossing the line when the wife is bedridden and the unexpected ending. The story begins when Emily, a 28-year-old woman, is involved in a serious traffic accident on her way home from work. She falls into a coma, leaving her husband, Nathan, 32, in pain and confusion. Emily's mother, Eleanor, a 50-year-old widow who still retains her youthful beauty, comes from the countryside to the city to take care of her daughter at the hospital and support Nathan during this difficult period. Due to circumstances, Eleanor moves in with Nathan to take care of Emily when she is discharged from the hospital but still needs medical supervision. At first, Nathan and Eleanor's relationship was one of sympathy and sharing of grief. Nathan, a quiet but thoughtful man, gradually found comfort in Eleanor's home-cooked meals and late-night conversations about Emily. Eleanor, nearly 20 years older than Nathan, was drawn to his strength and devotion, something she had longed for in her late husband. The closeness in the cramped living space, combined with their loneliness, slowly gave rise to feelings that should not have existed. The tragedy begins when Nathan and Eleanor, drunk, cross the line of morality, leaving both of them in torment and guilt. They try to hide it, but the tension and furtive actions make Emily, still weak after the accident, gradually realize something is wrong. The story climaxes when Emily confronts the truth, leading to a tearful and heartbreaking family conflict. The ending leaves an open question: can love and forgiveness heal the wounds, or will this tragedy remain an indelible stain? Nathan sat by the hospital bed, holding Emily's cold hand. The steady hum of the heart monitor echoed through the white room, a reminder that she was still alive, albeit barely. It had been 3 weeks since the truck had lost control and crashed into Emily's motorbike on the overpass. The doctors said she was lucky to be alive, but no one was sure when she would wake up. Nathan looked at his wife's pale face, her eyes closed, and felt his chest tighten. He had grown accustomed to her smile, her clear voice waking him up every morning, but now there was only silence. A soft knock on the door pulled Nathan out of his thoughts. Eleanor entered, carrying an old canvas bag, her face etched with worry, but trying to maintain a calm expression. "I'm here," she said in a deep voice. She put the bag down and approached Emily's bed, her eyes red as she looked at her daughter. "How long has she been like this? Why didn't you tell me?" Nathan stood up, bowing his head slightly. "I'm sorry, Mom. Everything happened so fast, I didn't have time to think about anything other than taking Emily to the hospital." He pulled out a chair for her to sit, his eyes avoiding hers. Eleanor nodded, not blaming him further. She understood how much Nathan was suffering. The son-in-law she had always loved for his devotion to Emily. That night, after leaving the hospital, Nathan suggested that Eleanor stay at his house instead of renting a room. "My house is near the hospital, it's more convenient for you." "Emily needs you right now," he said sincerely. Eleanor hesitated, but finally agreed. Nathan and Emily's small apartment suddenly felt more cramped with the addition of another person, but also warmer with Eleanor's presence. She cooked simple meals, taking care of every detail as she had done for Emily when she was little. Nathan, for the first time in days, felt hungry again. But neither of them realized that, in the midst of those shared moments, an invisible bond was gradually forming, fragile, dangerous, and uncontrollable. The following days passed in a steady but heavy rhythm. Early in the morning, Nathan drove Eleanor to the hospital to visit Emily, sat by her bed for hours, and returned home when it was already dark. Emily lay there motionless, like a beautiful but lifeless statue. The doctors said her condition had stabilized, but the possibility of her waking up was still a big question mark. Nathan did not dare to hope too much, and Eleanor always tried to comfort him with simple words. "It will be okay. Don't think too much." At home, Eleanor took care of everything from cooking, cleaning to laundry. Nathan was initially apprehensive, but she brushed it off. "I'm here to help you. Just let me do it." Gradually, he got used to her presence in the small apartment. Every night after dinner, the two of them would sit in the living room drinking tea and chatting. The initial conversations revolved around Emily, memories of when she was little, the times she got angry with Nathan and then went home to tell her mother. But then, without knowing when, they started talking about other things. Eleanor's life in the countryside, the loneliness after her husband died, or the days when Nathan struggled to make a living before marrying Emily. One rainy evening, Nathan came home late from work. He walked in, drenched, to find Eleanor waiting with a bowl of hot porridge. "It's so cold. Why aren't you wearing a raincoat?" she asked, handing him a towel to dry his hair. Nathan chuckled, a strange warmth spreading through him. "I forgot. Thanks, Mom." He sat down and ate his porridge, and for the first time in weeks, he felt a little bit of peace. But the peace didn't last long. That night, while Nathan was washing dishes in the kitchen, Eleanor came in to get some water. The small space made them stand closer than usual. Nathan caught a faint scent of her hair, not perfume, but the familiar scent of sunshine and country grass. He suddenly realized he was looking at her longer than necessary. Eleanor hesitated too, her hands stilled with her glass. Neither said anything, but their eyes met for a moment, and both quickly looked away. From then on, the silences between them began to take on a different tone. Nathan told himself that it was just a passing feeling, that he was tired and lonely because of Emily. But every time Eleanor accidentally touched his hand while passing the dishes, or when she smiled gently while telling a story, his heart beat faster. Eleanor was no better. She blamed herself for her inappropriate thoughts, but the more she tried to suppress them, the more she realized that she was drawn to Nathan, a man who was both strong and wounded, like her late husband whom she had loved deeply. Then one night, things spiraled out of control. Nathan was drinking after a hard day at work, trying to clear his head of clutter. Eleanor sat next to him, asking him a few questions, and in his drunken stupor, Nathan took her hand. "Mom, sometimes I don't know what I'm living for," he whispered, his voice cracking. Eleanor didn't pull away. She looked at him, her eyes glistening with tears, and in a moment of weakness, she let him pull her into his arms. The first kiss was an accident, but what followed was not. The next morning, they both woke up in an awkward silence. Nathan looked at Eleanor, wanting to say something, but she just stood up and turned away. The tragedy had begun, and neither of them knew that Emily, still lying motionless in her hospital bed, would soon feel the rift they had left. The dim morning light filtered through the curtains, illuminating Nathan's pale face. He lay on the sofa, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling as if searching for answers. Last night, what had happened between him and Eleanor was no dream. It was so real, so clear that he could feel her breathing, the trembling touch, and the heavy silence that followed. He wondered what he had become, a traitor to Emily, or just a weak man in despair. Eleanor didn't appear in the kitchen as usual. Nathan heard a slight noise from Emily's room, where she was sleeping on the couch next to her daughter's bed. He got up and walked to the door but didn't dare knock. Through the crack, he saw her sitting there, her hands covering her face, her shoulders shaking slightly. Eleanor couldn't sleep either, the guilt gnawing at her every minute. She told herself it was a mistake, that alcohol and loneliness had pushed them both down a path of no return. But deep down, she knew she wasn't completely innocent. Her feelings for Nathan had been growing silently since the beginning, and she hadn't stopped them. They avoided each other that day. Nathan excused himself to work early, and Eleanor stayed longer than usual at the hospital with Emily. But when they returned home, the cramped space of the apartment forced them to face each other. "Have you eaten?" she asked softly, trying to sound casual. Nathan nodded, not looking directly at her. "Yes, I ate out." The conversation stopped there, short and awkward. They both knew the silence couldn't last forever. A few days later, an unexpected incident occurred. While Nathan and Eleanor were in the hospital, Emily's finger twitched slightly. Nathan almost shouted for the doctor. After a series of tests, the doctor announced that Emily was showing signs of recovery. She could wake up in the next few days. Although not completely sure, Nathan held Emily's hand, tears of joy and fear falling. Eleanor stood behind, smiling faintly, but inside she was a storm. If Emily woke up, everything would change, but would the truth be exposed? That night, Nathan and Eleanor couldn't avoid talking. They sat in the living room, the dim yellow light making the atmosphere more stuffy. "Mom, what happened the other day?" Nathan started to speak hesitantly, but Eleanor interrupted. "Don't say any more, Nathan. It's your fault. You shouldn't have let it happen." But Nathan shook his head. "No, it's my fault too. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm sorry, Mom and Emily." Eleanor looked at him, her eyes red. "If Emily wakes up, what will you say to her?" Nathan was silent, unable to answer. He knew that no matter how he tried to hide it, the truth was still like a dagger in his heart. Eleanor sighed and stood up. "I'll go home when Emily is better. Let's just bury this." But they both knew that burying it didn't mean erasing it. The day Emily opened her eyes, Nathan was the first person she saw. Nathan. Her voice was weak but enough to make him cry. He hugged her, whispering an apology that she didn't understand. Eleanor stood outside the door, watching the scene with a broken heart. Emily was too weak to realize anything, but her eyes occasionally glanced at her mother and husband, as if sensing an invisible distance. In the following days, Emily gradually recovered. She began to talk more, asking about what had happened while she was in a coma. Nathan and Eleanor coordinated their answers, but each sentence was like an awkward play. Once, when Eleanor accidentally touched Nathan's hand while giving Emily a bowl of porridge, she paused, looking at them with a puzzled look. "Since when have you and Nathan been so close?" she asked half-jokingly. Nathan stiffened, and Eleanor quickly laughed. "I'm just worried about you." But Emily wasn't stupid. She began to notice small details: Nathan's evasive gaze, her mother's tension whenever she was near him. Suspicion grew, and the real tragedy was just beginning. Emily recovered faster than the doctors had predicted. Although she was still bedridden for most of the day, she was able to sit up, speak clearly, and even hold a spoon to eat porridge. Nathan and Eleanor were happy, but their joy was covered by a thick layer of anxiety. With each passing day, it became harder for them to maintain a normal appearance in front of Emily. She was no longer the weak, motionless wife. Her eyes were sharpening, and the sensitivity of a woman was beginning to emerge. One afternoon, when Nathan went to work, only Emily and Eleanor were home. Emily lay on the bed, watching her mother peeling an apple in the corner of the room. "Mom," she suddenly spoke, her voice soft but full of meaning, "how have you and Nathan been at home these past few weeks?" Eleanor paused, the knife in her hand almost slipping. She forced a smile and replied, "I'm taking care of you. Nathan is at work. Why are you asking?" But Emily did not stop. "I find Nathan strange, and so do you. It's like you two are hiding something from me." Eleanor stiffened, but tried to stay calm. "You think too much. Nathan and I are just worried about you." Emily did not say more, just nodded slightly, but her eyes did not leave her mother. Eleanor turned away, her heart heavy. She knew Emily was not easily fooled. She was always sharp even when she was weak. That night, Nathan came home with a small bouquet of flowers, hoping to cheer Emily up. He walked into the room, smiling. "I bought you some flowers." Emily took them, but her smile faded as she looked at Nathan. "Nathan, sit here for a moment," she said evenly. Nathan sat down, feeling uneasy. Eleanor stood at the door, about to leave, but Emily called her back. "Mom, stay here, I want to talk to you both." The air in the room suddenly became stuffy. Nathan glanced at Eleanor, his eyes panicked. Emily took a deep breath and said, "I don't know how long I've been unconscious, but I'm not blind." "Do you think I didn't notice?" The furtive glances, the way Nathan avoided touching Mom, the way Mom tensed up every time I asked something. "Did something happen?" Nathan paled, his mouth stammering. "Emily, you misunderstood." But Emily cut him off, her voice rising. "Don't lie. Do you think I'm an idiot? I saw the way you looked at Mom, not the way a son-in-law looks at his mother-in-law. Mom too. What did you two do while I lay there motionless?" She burst into tears, her hands clutching the bedsheets. Eleanor rushed to hug Emily, but she pushed her away. "Don't touch me. Tell me, what did you and Nathan do?" Eleanor trembled, tears falling. "Emily, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. It was just one time, one mistake." Her confession was like a knife stabbing Emily's heart. She turned to Nathan, her eyes filled with pain. "You too, Nathan? Tell me." Nathan bowed his head, not daring to look straight at his wife. "I'm sorry, Emily. I don't know what I did. I was drunk. I was lonely, but I can't justify it." "I was wrong." His voice broke, tears falling to the floor. Emily covered her face and sobbed. You too betrayed me when I almost died. What am I going to see again?" Eleanor knelt down beside the bed, her voice choked. "Emily, I know I'm not worthy to be your mother. I'll leave. Forgive Nathan, it's my fault." But Emily screamed, "Don't say any more. You can go anywhere, but don't think this will end. I can't forgive you, never." Nathan stood up, wanting to touch Emily, but she screamed, "Don't come near me." He backed away helplessly. The room was filled with crying and painful silence. Eleanor stood up, quietly packed her things and left the house that night, without a word of goodbye. Nathan collapsed to the floor, looking at Emily, the wife he loved more than anything, but now there was only hatred in her eyes. Emily lay there panting, her heart broken. She didn't know how she would live on, but one thing was certain: this family was broken and nothing could fix it. In the days after Eleanor left, the small apartment became colder than ever. Emily did not speak to Nathan. Although he stayed to take care of her, she lay on the bed, her eyes empty, refusing all his attempts to make up. Nathan knew he had no right to ask for forgiveness, but he could not leave Emily, not now, when she still needed someone to take care of her. He did everything quietly, cooking, washing, taking her to follow-up appointments, but every action of his only added fuel to the fire of anger in Emily's heart. A week passed. Emily gradually regained her health. She began to do some small things by herself, like sitting up and holding a glass of water, but she didn't want to depend on Nathan anymore. One evening, when Nathan brought a tray of food into the room, Emily coldly said, "Leave it there and go out. From tomorrow on, you don't need to do these things anymore." Nathan stood still, looking at her. "Emily, I know you're angry, but I can't just leave you like that. I want to make amends." Emily smiled faintly, her voice bitter. "Make amends? Do you think cooking a few meals will be enough? You and Mom have stabbed me in the heart, Nathan. Don't say such empty words anymore." Nathan lowered his head, not responding. He put the tray down and quietly left the room, but in his heart, a decision gradually formed. He couldn't continue living in this painful silence. The next morning, he wrote a short letter, leaving it on Emily's desk. "Emily, I'm going away for a while. You need space, and so do I. I'm not asking you to forgive me, but I hope one day you'll understand how much I love you. I'll come back when you want me to." He packed some clothes and left the house before Emily woke up. When Emily found the letter, she didn't cry. She read it over and over again, then crumpled it up and threw it in the trash, but inside she felt a strange emptiness. She hated Nathan, but she couldn't deny that he was an indispensable part of her life. She wondered if his departure would make her feel better, or would it only deepen the wound. Elsewhere, Eleanor returned to her hometown, living in the old house she had shared with her husband. She had no contact with Emily or Nathan, though missing her daughter kept her awake at night. One day, she received a letter from Emily. It wasn't long, just a few lines. "Mother, I can't forgive you, but I don't want you to live like a sinner forever. I need time. Don't contact me now." Eleanor hugged the letter, sobbing. It wasn't forgiveness, but at least it was a door opened, however fragile. As time passed, Emily gradually became more independent. She found a light job at home, starting her life again without Nathan or her mother. She no longer cried every night, but the pain still lingered. One afternoon, while cleaning, she accidentally found her and Nathan's wedding ring in a drawer. She picked it up, looked at it, then put it back, not wearing it, but not throwing it away either. Nathan, meanwhile, lived in another city, working as a mechanic. He made no attempt to contact Emily, but kept tabs on her through mutual acquaintances. He knew she was getting better, and that both relieved and pained him. He wondered if he would ever get back together, or if he had lost her forever. One rainy day, Emily stood by the window watching the people passing by. Her phone lit up with a text message from an unknown number. "Emily, it's me. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, but if you need me, I'll come back." She looked at the text message, her fingers swiping across the screen, but didn't reply. She stepped out onto the balcony, took a deep breath, and let the rain fall on her face. The rain continued to fall steadily on the balcony where Emily stood silently with Nathan's text message in her hand. She didn't reply right away, but the words, "If you need me, I'll come back," kept repeating in her head. She thought about the happy days before the accident, about the love she had for Nathan, and the devotion of her mother, who had sacrificed so much for her despite making an unforgivable mistake. She wondered if she kept holding on to resentment, would she really be able to live on? Emily texted back a short note. "Go home. We need to talk." She wasn't sure she was ready to forgive, but she knew she couldn't continue living in the silence that held the three of them captive. Nathan received the message while sitting in a small coffee shop, holding a cold cup of water. He didn't laugh, didn't cry, just quietly stood up, paid the bill, and caught a bus home that night. When Nathan entered the house, Emily was sitting on the sofa, her eyes calm but cold. He put down his bag, not daring to come closer. "Emily," he started, but she raised her hand to stop him. "Sit down. I want to hear you tell me everything." Nathan recounted everything, from the loneliness when she was in a coma, the weakness when drunk, to the torment afterwards. He didn't make excuses, just bowed his head. He knew he didn't deserve her, but he never stopped loving her. Emily was silent for a long time and then said, "I called Mom too. She will come here tomorrow. I don't want us to live in the shadow of that forever, but you and Mom have to understand. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting." Nathan nodded, tears falling. He knew this was his last chance, and he didn't dare ask for anything more. Eleanor arrived the next morning, carrying her usual duffel bag, her face haggard from sleepless nights. When she saw Emily, she fell to her knees and cried. "Emily, I'm sorry." Emily helped her mother up, her voice trembling. "I don't hate you anymore, but don't think things will ever be the same. I just want us to live on, no matter what."